Okay, here we go. When I was in high school, I had the perfect life. I was already cheer captain. I had the hot boyfriend, and all that was left was prom queen. I think there's been a mistake and I've been put in the wrong room.
Dr. Johnson's the third floor. The cheerleader just woke up.
Don't mean to be a bitch, but cheer captain. Everybody else has got to go on and live their lives. And what, I'm supposed to just jump forward? I mean, I just found out there is 8 more Fast and Furious movies. I want to go back to school, finish my senior year.
They can't let an almost 40-year-old do high school.
High school was just like yesterday for me. It will not be weird at all. You turn high school in.
This episode follows Martha as she struggles to come to terms with the sudden death of her boyfriend Ash. In an attempt to cope with her grief, Martha turns to a new service that allows her to communicate with artificial replicas of Ash. As the replicas become more advanced, Martha is forced to confront the ethical implications of using them to cope with her grief. As the lines between reality and artificiality blur, Martha becomes more and more isolated from her friends and family, leading to a confrontation with those closest to her. In the end, Martha is able to find some sense of closure and move on from her grief. Hello guys, and welcome back to our channel, Mystery Recaps. Today we will recap Black Mirror, Season 2, Episode 1, Be Right Back. I hope you're ready for an in-depth look at this poignant and thought-provoking episode because I have a lot to say. In Be Right Back, the first episode of Black Mirror, Season 2, we are introduced to the main character, Ash and Martha. Ash is a young man who is skeptical of technology and its potential to do more harm than good. Martha is his girlfriend and the love of his life. The episode begins with a montage of Ash and Martha's happy relationship, set to a beautiful song. It's clear that they are deeply in love and very happy together. But as the montage ends, the mood shifts dramatically. Ash is seen driving on a rainy night, talking on the phone with Martha. He tells her that he loves her and that he'll see her soon. It's a poignant and emotional moment that foreshadows the tragedy to come. As Ash drives, he loses control of the car and crashes into a tree. The screen goes black and the words 6 months earlier appear on the screen. It's a shocking and devastating moment that sets the tone for the rest of the episode. In the following scene, we see Martha at home trying to come to terms with Ash's death. She's surrounded by boxes of his belongings and is clearly struggling to move on. It's a heartbreaking moment that shows the raw emotions of grief and the difficulty of coping with loss. As Martha struggles to deal with her grief, she receives a message from a new service that allows her to communicate with artificial replicas of Ash. It's a tempting offer, and Martha finds herself drawn to the idea of being able to talk to Ash again, even if it's just a replica. And so, the stage is set for the rest of the episode, as Martha grapples with the ethical quandaries of using artificial replicas to cope with grief. Guys, what do you think? It's ethical to use artificial replicas to cope with grief? Why or why not? Let us know in the comments section below. As the episode progresses, we see Martha begin to use the new service that allows her to communicate with artificial replicas of Ash. At first, it's a comforting and reassuring experience for her. She's able to talk to Ash and share her thoughts and feelings, and it helps her to feel a little less alone in her grief. However, as the replicas become more advanced and lifelike, Martha begins to feel a sense of unease. They can mimic Ash's mannerisms and responses, but they can't really feel anything. Their interactions with Martha start to feel more and more artificial, and she starts to question the ethics of using them to cope with her grief. As the replicas become more advanced, Martha becomes more and more isolated from her friends and family. She spends all her time with the replicas, even canceling plans with her sister and Sarah, her friend. It's clear that Martha is struggling to cope with Ash's death and is relying on the replicas for emotional support. In the meantime, Ash's sister and Sarah start to become concerned about Martha's behavior. They can see that she's becoming more and more isolated and that she's spending all her time with the replicas. They try to reach out to her, but she pushes them away. It's a poignant and heart-wrenching moment that shows the power of grief and the way it can change a person. As the episode progresses, the blurred lines between reality and artificiality become more pronounced. Martha starts to see the replicas as more than just artificial constructs and begins to see them as a substitute for the real Ash. It's a disturbing and unsettling moment that raises important questions about the role of technology in our lives and the consequences of relying too heavily on it. Later in the episode, the tension between Martha and her friends and family comes to a head. Ash's sister and Sarah confront Martha about her behavior and try to convince her to stop using the replicas. They argue that the replicas are just an artificial substitute for the real Ash and that they can't provide the same kind of emotional support as a real person. Martha is resistant at first, but eventually begins to see the truth in what they're saying. She realizes that she's been using the replicas as a crutch to cope with her grief, and it's not fair to the memory of the real Ash. She decides to stop using the replicas and begins to make an effort to reconnect with her friends and family. As Martha starts to move on from her grief, the replicas become less and less important to her. She starts to see them for what they really are, artificial constructs that can't provide the same kind of emotional support as a real person. It's also an important and emotional moment that shows the power of human connection and the importance of moving on from grief. In the end, Martha is able to find some sense of closure and move on from her grief. It's a bittersweet and hopeful ending that leaves the door open for a potential happy ending for Martha. Overall, Be Right Back is a poignant and thought-provoking episode that explores the themes of grief, loss, and the blurred lines between human and artificial intelligence. It's a powerful and emotionally charged episode that is sure to stay with you long after it ends. So what do you guys think? Have you guys already seen Be Right Back? If so, what did you think of it? If not, are you planning on giving it a watch? Let me know in the comments. And as always, don't forget to like and subscribe for more Black Mirror reviews and analysis. Thanks for watching.